So my comments on this idea, basically, of the best enhancements are not without consequences, and I have to say that in the terms of the universe or the laws of the universe, that's actually probably true. There's no shortcuts, no extras, and so when you enhance something, definitely it does come at a price. And in this case, she's saying that if we use algorithms or artificial intelligence in knowledge-based economy structures, or even maybe even production to a certain extent, the routine cognitive tasks, the things that basically we're assigning to the algorithm to think about for us, basically is how do we become an expert in our field because we're not facing the problems ourselves. It's no different than the separation of my students like you who try to process the language and try to figure it out versus my students that look, translate, look, translate, and so they never develop any retention because they're just always translating. It's just too easy for them. And sometimes for students, I have to say, you're going to have to put it away. You're going to have to challenge yourself to figure out what to say. And that sometimes students don't like that because they feel like they can't express themselves because there's a gap between their Chinese intelligence and their English intelligence. And so they don't want to feel, stupid or less of because of that. And so it's a hard habit to break. So, in order for people to become an expert, which is normally we say the rule of thumb is 10,000 hours of doing the same thing will can put you into expert class. Obviously, that's a rough figure. Okay, and so if that was the case, we would all be experts in different day-to-day tasks. Maybe we are. I'm not sure. One way of learning about a job is this legitimate peripheral participation. So her idea is basically legitimate, I would say real, peripheral, meaning sort of everything else on the outside, and then the participation, the activity. And so what that means is that, if you're new on a job or new in an organization, the way that you learn is sort of being on the outside, observing people and, try to get involved somehow. That's how you find a new way to learn. But if we have an AI that does that, then there's no incentive or need for that to happening. And I would suggest that is in fact happening now, based on my experience of what I see. And so in this case, they're on target, minus the changes that I mentioned earlier about the pandemic. I think this is definitely correct in her assumption. Okay, next part is another issue.